Hi folks, Tony here, and you join me out on the road on the KTM 1290 Superduke GT. Now I guess you could say that this bike is the sensible grown-up brother of its slightly lunatic Superduke R sibling, but not by much. So let's just cover off the important numbers to start with, and they are all impressive numbers. This 1301cc 75 degree V-twin motor puts out 175 horsepower and 141 newton meters of torque. Now I'm doing this from memory, so if I've got them wrong I'll put the numbers up on the screen, or I'll put them up on the screen anyway. The seat height is 835 millimeters. I'm 5'10" with a 32-inch inseam, and that's an easy flat foot. The bike weighs 209 kilograms dry and has a 20 litre fuel tank capacity. Now I'm not going to go into too much details around the ownership because I've only got this for a couple of weeks, but service intervals on these bikes are around 10,000 miles. And as you can see from this very clear and very easy to read TFT screen, this bike is absolutely bristling with technology. It has the WP semi-active electronic suspension. The bike comes standard with heated grips. This has got a heated seat, and it is a bit like its more aggressive sibling, just as ludicrous really. 175 brake horsepower in a bike that weighs just over 200 kilos. You can imagine what the performance is like. So we know it's an M-Pool touring bike, but what I want to try to do today and over the course of this video is to work out exactly what it's like as an all-round everyday bike. It's an incredibly comfortable place to be, as you can imagine, set up for touring. It's got a really nice riding position. You are sort of canted forward in a slightly sporty sense. The seat is broad and wide. Now I've spent many hours in this saddle and I've had no issues with that at all. Things like the handlebars are adjustable. You've got 3 adjustable positions for the foot peg as well, so you can really adjust the fit once you get the bike to get it exactly how you want it. You've got 9 positions for the adjustable screen, and that's an easy pull it away from you and you can lift it up and down. That screen, by the way, seems to work really well. In its lowest position I've got it today, it's perfect in warm weather. You get a nice bit of airflow around the body, but I'm not really getting very much buffeting at all on the helmet. It's just a little bit of wind noise that I'm picking up, but not very much at all actually. It's one of the better screens that I've tried. The bike's got a fly-by-wire throttle, so you do get a very nice gentle delivery, although you'll find on UK roads you're not really twisting this throttle very much at all. Just the slightest of turn on this will see you hurtling forwards. There is an argument to say that bikes like these are just too powerful for the street, and I kind of understand that. You're not really going to get the full potential out of this motor on the street, and I've kind of equated it a bit to like owning a supercar. Bristling with technology, it's incredibly quick, and it's a real pussycat around town. There's no snatchy fueling on the throttle, really easy to ride, but you're only really going to get the most out of this once you get it onto a track, or I suppose if you're riding somewhere like the autobahns where you've got no speed restrictions. But it is just an incredibly quick machine. I'll put the price up on the screen for you to have a look at, but I have to say that this does feel like a very premium bike. The finish is really nice, the quality of the componentry is really good. You know, we've got a hydraulic clutch, we've got all of those electronics. You've got a 6-axis IMU to help deal with the cornering, ABS and those sort of stuff. You've got lots of options in terms of the traction control. It has a slipper clutch with a quick shifter up and down, and that quick shifter is silky smooth, and there's just so much packed into this bike that I've got to try to not make this a really long video by going through it. So I thought I'd give it a good test. I'm off to Brands Hatch this morning. There is a track day. Unfortunately I didn't find out about that till later on, so I'm not actually signed up for the track day, but I thought going down to have a look and see what's going on will give you an idea of what this is like, because it's going to be some A roads. We're going to be sitting in traffic like this. I've got a little bit of motorway over the over the Dartford crossing, and although overall it's probably not much more than 100-150 miles in a round trip, it will give you some kind of idea what this is like. But so far, in terms of being a mile muncher, I think this bike is absolutely incredible. I've got a bit of a boring munch down the motorway now, just to get down to Brands Hatch. Not my usual scenic routes that you see when I'm doing bike reviews, but you know, such is life. For a touring bike or an A to B blaster, it is absolutely phenomenal. So let's see what the M25 has got in store today. I've missed rush hour, so hopefully, well, rush hour doesn't count for shit on the M25, to be honest. It can be super busy at 5 AM in the morning and empty at 8 AM. Who knows, but it doesn't look too bad. Now, this 1300 V-twin motor, there are drawbacks to it. Well, there's one drawback which I think is quite minor, but it is the heat that it kicks out. Now, it's a problem I had on my 1050, and it's a problem that this bike has got, but it's not as marked. There is a shroud on the header of this bike, and which I didn't have on the 1050. That does seem to do a pretty good job. But on a day like today, it's 20 degrees, the air temperature is still quite cool, so not a problem at all in this weather. But if you are in stationary or crawling traffic on a hot day, you will feel that heat come up.
Warm nuts, sir, warm nuts.
But it's just one of the few negatives I can pick about this bike, and there's only really a couple of negatives. In terms of riding, it's absolutely beautiful to ride. For me, not quite so much to look at. From the middle of the tank back, it's really good. I'm just not a big fan of the way the fairing points forward. I understand why it's there, and it gives you the ability to put the LED cornering lights in there, and it's also going to help with aerodynamics. I'm just not a big fan of that, and I'm also not a big fan of the Wasp headlight. And so far, although it is busy, there's no stationary traffic on the M25, although I probably shouldn't say that. I seem to have jinxed my videos. There you go, I spoke too soon. Literally 2 minutes after saying that the M25 was clear, we're crawling up to the Dartford crossing. Me and my big mouth. I'm going to have to learn to not make any comments about weather or traffic conditions when I'm doing these videos. Oh well. Well, at least it's sunny, so you may get a nice view off the bridge, although it's not particularly scenic in this part of the world. You can see Canary Wharf in the distance. Oh, you probably can't see it on this camera with the super view, but I can see Canary Wharf in the distance over there. And the tide is out. So a little bit further, we're just approaching junction 3 of the M25, and the bike has been behaving itself impeccably. One thing you will notice, one thing I haven't talked about when you jump on it, is just how planted this feels. It's a wonderful thing, and as much as I dislike the look of a lot of the KTM range, there's no denying just how nicely they put a bike together. Everything I've ridden in the range, the 790 Adventure R, the Duke, everything does exactly what it needs to do. And what I like about KTM is they don't put stuff on the bike that isn't really needed. Obviously this has got a hell of a lot of stuff on it, even things like little storage compartments down here, but they're not unnecessary with stuff, and that obviously helps to keep the weight down. So I've got a 32-inch inseam. I can flat foot this with slightly bent knees. It's not a tall bike in that sense. The seat's quite wide, but then you want that if you're going to be spending hours on this bike. You're going to want as much support as you can get, and this seat does it admirably. And judging by the pillion seat, I think it looks pretty good for pillion passengers too. And there's a very handy grab rail at the back, which I'm going to utilise to mount some cameras on for some other footage. But if you're a pillion passenger, it's perfect. It's exactly what you need while you're clinging on for dear life on the back of this thing. This is a real Jekyll and Hyde. You can, as I say, poot around town with it. Everything's nice and soft, everything's nice and gentle. And I'm just in street mode here. But you get it out, open that throttle, and it just turns into a completely different animal. So I've talked about handling of this bike, but the riding I've been doing today, I can't really demonstrate that. So let's go here. It's great around some of the country lanes, but it's these sweeping A roads where this bike, you know, really comes to life on the road. It's so poised, it's so set and balanced, there's no surprises. But it never feels unsettled, it never feels out of shape. It just does what it needs to do. It's such a good planted bike. So here we are, Brands Hatch. I'm kind of hoping that we can just go straight in. This is a track day that's been organised by Bennett's insurance company. I don't know what the setup is. Normally on track days like this, as a spectator, you can just roll in. But we'll find out what's going on. So is there access through here, or not at all? Okay, so it's only booked for pre-booked. Ah, okay. I should have checked that before I came down. Okay. Well, second time's a charm, but as they say, it's not what you know, it's who you know, and I've managed to black my way in. You can see we've got a track day going on. There's people out on the track, and I haven't been to Brands Hatch for a long time. I'm kind of almost wishing that I knew about this earlier and I'd signed up, because this would have been perfect to show you what this bike can do. And so you're really only going to get the most out of this engine and this bike in general on the track. Well, I say you're not going to get the most out of it, you're going to see the ultimate performance of it. I'm not saying you can't get the most out of it on the road, but you certainly can't ride it to its anywhere near its full potential in terms of performance, of course. This gives me a chance to show you the exhaust. I'm such a child. Quite often when you look at bike reviews, the reviewer likes to pigeonhole that bike, which annoys me a little bit sometimes. But I was thinking about this bike and who does it suit? Well, if you want the speed and the thrills of a sports bike, if you want that thumping torque of a big V-twin mixed with the comfort and longevity of a touring bike and the mild manners of a bike you can commute on, then really the Superduke 1290 GT does all of that, and it does it incredibly well. And of course you've got that kind of Jekyll and Hyde nature where you can slap the luggage on the back and shove a tank bag on it, ride off to the south of France, find a racetrack, take the panniers off and go and absolutely spank it around a track. So there's only really a couple of issues that I have with the bike. One is I don't like the way it looks, and obviously that's subjective, but it's a bike you enjoy riding. It's not a bike to go and pose on. And you've still got that issue of the heat coming off that back cylinder, but again I guess that's the same for any sort of large capacity bike as well. Other than that, it's been an absolute pleasure to ride, and I hope you found this review useful. As usual, if you've got any comments or questions, just let me know in the comment section down below. And so until next time, take care, ride safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye!